Hola guys, and welcome back. Alright, so where did we leave off? Yes. I was in the process of trying to farm up some string. Now I do have quite a bit, 49 I believe in total. I've got a few silkworms and a decent amount of bone meal, I would say now. Now, one thing that I am also doing, because I've noticed that apples don't drop from oak trees very often, and if you do this, they don't drop at all. I've actually sort of expanded this. I really didn't need to be entirely honest. This really wasn't necessary, but I did decide to do it anyways, because this allows me to actually fish and get food. Now, obviously, fish don't do much more than apples, but just standing around and catching fish doesn't require any extra energy. So this is a good way to get food once you start into that. I would definitely recommend trying to get yourself a few surplus fish just to try and get yourself to a point where you don't have to worry about starving. By the way, if you starve, you will instantly die. Just be forewarned. I did end up letting myself do that just to see if that was the case, and it unfortunately was. Now, it is a little bit difficult, there we go, to get it into the water correctly, and it does usually take quite a while for it to actually register that that it is underwater, or rather that there's a fish there. So we'll see if we can't catch a fish, and then I'll come back once I've eaten a little bit more, and we'll go ahead and we'll take a look at the next quest. Alright guys, I'm back. So I did manage to get myself some raw fish here, and I did actually manage to get myself full on food, so I don't have to worry about starving to death anymore. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take a look into the next set of quests. Now, I did take a quick look at some of the other stuff. The go with the flow section is with liquids, and it starts with fluid storage. Obviously, that's not a concern of ours right now. For the hoarding, this is actually not something that's a bad idea to get started with. It's actually better barrels from the Java or just a better barrel mod. It does actually sound like a fairly good idea to get started on this, but I'm not going to worry about it quite yet. First of all, I actually want to get started into this smooth as silk. Now, as you can see, I already have the fishing rod. I need to make a hammer, a bed, and an oak sieve, or sieve, depending on how you, well, I suppose sieve is probably more accurate. Regardless, let's go ahead and dig up the hammer recipe. Wooden hammer, so that's fairly easy to make. Now, the hammer, I have looked or seen how the hammer works. The hammer will actually break things down in such a way that it allows you to turn, for example, turn your cobble into sand, or cobble into gravel, gravel into sand, sand into dust, etc. Basically, that's the way that works. There are a few other things you can do with it, but typically that's what you normally end up doing with it at any rate. I'm going to go ahead and put these away just because I don't need those right now. I am also going to go ahead and make myself a bed. That's one of the things we need here. We're just going to plop that down right there. Alright, so I did manage to go ahead and get a couple of other things done here. I just chopped down the trees, took out the rest of the silk. I've got one tree just sitting up there just in case I need it. The main reason that I'm coming in here is to go ahead and get started on the sieve, or the oak sieve here. Now if we look at the recipe, it's just 4 oak planks, some sticks, and silk mesh, which is just made with 9 pieces of string in a square like so. So I'm going to grab myself 1, 2, 3, 4, and 2 of those. And we're going to go ahead and craft ourselves one of these. There we go. It's 2 of those. So we've got ourselves 2 silk meshes, 2 sticks, and an oak sieve. Now, I am going to leave this in here for now, I think, just because I'm trying to keep everything fairly organized. The other thing I want to do actually is block that up for now, just because it is nighttime. I'm trying to keep things a little bit organized. I'll probably wait out the night, but for now, let's take a look and see what we got. Aha, okay, so we've got this done. The next thing that it wants us to do is the first stone. Alright, so we've proven ourselves that we can stay alive in the world. Now we have to get, let's put those trees you've grown to good use. Find the stones hidden in the dirt. Using a device which the great transmutation lords have called created just for you. Okay, so we need to get ourselves a piece of cobblestone. Now, cobblestone actually has a new recipe using stones, which are from, again, X and Halo. Now we can actually get that, or rather get those, by sticking that in here and just rapidly right-clicking it. We get some nice little icons there. And let's make ourselves one piece of cobblestone. Now obviously we are going to want more pieces of dirt in order to get more cobble to start off with. I will work on that in a bit. It takes about 8 pieces or 8 saplings in order to actually grow one of those, so I'm not too concerned about that right now. Now what we have to decide on is whether or not we want sugarcane, cotton seeds, which is basically another way for us to get string. Personally, I don't see why we would need to. We can get string fairly easily this way. It's more guaranteed with cotton, but that's not really a big deal. Then we have carrot seeds or carrots, and then we have normal seeds. Now, my personal preference is carrot seeds, simply because normal seeds require a few more stages to grow, and you actually have to combine them 3 pieces each, so it's a little bit more work in order to use these. While they don't heal you up quite as much as bread does, I feel like carrots are probably the way to go. And considering we can always go fishing, it's not really a big deal. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and claim the reward. There we go. Now let's try and combine this. Now I also wanted to show you guys something here as well. Yep, alright, so we can combine this to get a half heart. Now because we do have a full heart, I'm going to show you how this works. You just right click with it, and it increases your total lives. So as you can see, I had 1, now I'm at 2. The reason I dropped down to 1 is because I did die earlier, as you guys saw. I'm going to go ahead and put this away. And I'm also going to put the carrot seeds away because I don't have an actual tool yet. We do have a piece of cobblestone. So let's take a look at the next challenge here. So we've got be resourceful. So this one will give us quite a bit of stuff. And it wants us to get sand, cobble, gravel, and dust. So that's not really a big deal. Like I said, all we have to do is get ourselves some cobble. So we actually need to grow ourselves some more dirt first. But because it is nighttime, we'll have to wait that one out. Let's take a look at the other ones as well. We also have the melting stone, which requires an unfired crucible and an unfired clay bucket. Now let's see. So we'll need lava, and we can heat cobble and a crucible over a heat source. Clay buckets can be used. So we can actually create ourselves a clay bucket and a crucible. Alright, so to make these, we need clay, and to make clay, you need to use a hammer to turn cobble into gravel, blah, 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 sand into dust. Then you'll be able to right-click on a barrel filled with water. Okay, yeah, so when you have the dust, you can actually stick that in the water. I'll show you guys that in a bit. But for now, I'm just going to wait for it to change past nighttime, and then I will be back. Alright guys, welcome back. It's daytime. Now what I wanted to show you guys here is one of the other quests that I didn't actually take a look at before I dropped off here, is the fishing trip. Now this just requires, catching a fish, gives us a quarter of a heart, it gives us cooked fish, and it gives us a new fishing rod. Not exceptionally great, but certainly not bad. It also gives us another reward bag, which is fairly useful in most circumstances from what I've seen. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to submit this, and we are gonna, let's look the second one. There we go. And it does look like we actually did unlock two more quests here, which is for making a sifter, which will give us some bait. Looks like that's for making fishing easier. Let's see. Alright, so it does look like we can use those. Fungus Among Us wants us to... We can get glowstone, and we can make soul sand. I have seen the recipe for that. Ender pearl we probably have to get from an enderman. Set sand until you receive agent spores. Da, 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 da. Okay, so this shouldn't be a big deal either. This is going to be a little bit of time. So what I'm going to do now... Oops, I didn't want to go quite that far back. Oh, it looks like we've also unlocked a new thing as well. Well, let's stick with our learning skyblock for now. We'll open that up, and I'll be back in just a moment. Alright, now one thing that I want to show you guys as well, something that I mentioned in passing before, is the fact that on your weapons you have certain amounts of XP. Now, as you use it, your XP will go up. So as you can see, we have 3 out of 75. I'll go ahead and I'll break it here. And you'll see we now have 4 out of 75. Now by repairing them, it doesn't affect the XP levels at all, but your skill level will eventually go up as you increase the XP to maximum. And based on what I can tell, it appears that once you max out the XP, it actually gives it +1 modifier, which means you can give it an improvement, and you also gain a stat boost of some kind. So this axe that I just got actually just received a haste modifier, which I think is fairly cool. It means that it's a little bit faster. Right now I'm just farming for some more saplings to try and get some more dirt. But I'll be back once I've gotten enough dirt in order to complete a couple of quests, and then we'll go through them and I'll show you guys how to complete a few more quests there. Alright guys, so in the effort to try and get ourselves a little bit more food, I've decided to go on to the Survival is Not Tasty challenge, or quest here, which requires us to make a sifter. Now, a sifter is actually fairly cheap. If we look at the recipe here, it's just some planks, some sticks, and a fishing net, which is just made with some sticks that, I don't know why one of the sticks shows up as a helmet, but some sticks and some string. So we're going to go ahead and, oops, we're going to make ourselves one of those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to grab some wood. There we go. Gives us a fishing net. And actually we need one more set of sticks here, I believe. And there we go. So we've got ourselves a sifter here. Now let's just throw that. It appears we can't put it in there. What about... Oh, there we go. Apparently you just need extra space on all the sides. Now, the way the sifter works, at least my understanding of the sifter, is that you can throw dirt and other things through it, leaves, saplings, etc. Apparently it gives you maggots, ants, and other things that you can use with the reed fishing rod we got earlier, and we can catch fish. Apparently for breeding, I'm under the impression that we are actually also able to, that it also allows us to gain fish for eating, hopefully. Let's go ahead and get ourselves another full heart. So we've got ourselves a reinforced hammer. That's Minoleum. That's a fairly high quality hammer there. Well, I'm certainly happy with that. Now let's go ahead and hide that because I don't want to lose it. We've got ourselves a rubber seed from earlier. We've got some stones. Yes, there we go. Okay, so we've got ourselves a cobblestone. We've got ourselves some maggot, which we're going to put up here with our reed fishing rod. We'll mess with that in a little bit. We've got some green stained clay. Also, yes, I did make a small amount of adjustments here just to make it easier to get around. Just because I was getting a bit tired of losing all my hunger from running around and, all that. I think the next thing that I'm going to worry about after I deal with this will be making sure that or we'll be going in and dealing with the Java quests, trying to get ourselves some better storage here, just because this really isn't all that efficient. Now, one thing that you should be aware of with a hammer, when you break this, it will break it down and gives us gravel. Now, you can do this to multiple blocks at a time, so you do want to be careful what you're touching, because it will break a certain number of them, I believe. I think it depends on the type and strength of the actual hammer itself, but it is capable of doing so. So now that we've got this, we're going to break down that into sand, and finally our sand into dust. And now, so we've completed this, we now have access to Marietta Butcher Shop, which is just rotten flesh and bones. That's not really a big deal. Alright, so let's go to Be Resourceful. So let's manually submit this. Now, we could choose between a heart. Now, the reward bags, I haven't really talked about these. The reward bags have a chance of giving you something useful or fun or whatever. It's not always, like, you don't always get something good. For example, one of the ones I did, I got 16 firework rockets, which actually... apparently have normal sounds now. It's not quite what I was expecting. But anyways, you can get some fairly random stuff, honestly. Personally, I go with reward bags because I'm not worried about dying a whole lot, and I think it's kind of cool to get those. The other thing is we just got ourselves a Pick of Misfortune. Let's see. So Stonebound, Thaumic, Reinforced 3, level stone. So that's better than the one that we made before. I'm going to go ahead and put that away. Now I feel like certain... I could be mistaken, but I feel like some of these tools... Let me try using this one just once, just to see if this is the case. Okay, yeah, so it's only some of them. Some of the tools that you get actually have XP levels, and not all of them do. As you can see, this is one of the ones that doesn't. I'm just going to repair this quickly here. Doesn't cost much. And now the next thing that we want to do, since we've completed that, is work on... Oh, I said I was going to work on the just a better barrel, so I'm going to go ahead and work on that, and then I'll be back once I'm ready to complete that quest. Alright, so one of the things that I actually did here, I just used a reward, one of the reward bags, and actually gave me some cultivated drones, princesses, etc. These are actually fairly useful, at least later on when working with bees. I believe there are some beekeeping challenges. I believe there's actually a whole section in the book for them. Bees and trees, so it does look like there's a fairly in-depth section on the bees and such. I'm not going to worry about those right now. I did just want to show you that that is available. Now, one thing that I am working on is the better barrel. I know I do have the ingredients for this, and actually I should probably make this first. It's the chest. Then we put the oak wood around the chest, and then the slab gives us the better barrel. Now we also need the structural mark 1. So let's try... perfect. Alright, so we need the structural mark 1, which is just fence posts and other similar items. So this should be fairly easy to get. That back away. Grab all of that. Alright. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got the structural integrity. And the other thing that we need here is the storage upgrade. There we go. And that requires piston, better barrel, and piston. Well, we're not quite ready to do the pistons yet, of course. Unfortunately, that's not something we're quite prepared to do yet. But one thing that we can do, actually, to get iron is to go into the Hell's Kitchen and take a look at some of those. I did take a look at a few of the quests, and it does look like we have the ability to get iron from this. But I do need to take a look at the recipes for the juicer and such, so I'll be back once I've taken a look and see what we need to do to progress quest-wise. Sorry. Alright, now another thing that I do want to go over with you guys here, just because this is something we'll need in a few minutes, you can actually fill these barrels with water if they're empty, and once they are full, you can actually combine them with dust, which can be gotten by smashing first cobblestone with a hammer. It gives you gravel, then you smash the gravel with a hammer, it gives you sand, and then sand gives you dust. Now you can actually run the dust through the oak sieve. It'll give you different things such as Certus quartz dust or pulverized tin ore. It gives you a few different things there. Now you can actually use a sieve with things like sand and I believe also gravel, and it will give you different variants of different ores and things like that. But for now, what we actually want is some clay. Reason we want clay is so that we can, because I did actually look at these, I can't get the juicer and bakeware and stuff yet just because you do have to be able to cook things and we're not quite there yet. So we're going to go back in here. We want to do this. So the unfired crucible and the unfired clay bucket. Now the clay bucket, oh, that's quite a bit of stuff that may not quite work. Okay, unfired clay bucket is 3 pieces of clay, so that's not a big deal. How about the crucible? The crucible can be found unfired. It's just porcelain clay, which is clay and bone meal, so that means that we need to mix some of that. So let's go ahead and get started on that, and then I will continue from there. Alright, so as you can see, we do have these now. The next step in this is by going to firing the pottery, which it requires a slab furnace. We just have to cook those up. So the reason we actually want to get a slab furnace, as it says here, it only uses 6 instead of 8 in order to make a full furnace. So it's a little bit cheaper wood-wise, which is why we're going to want to use it. Now that does mean that we are going to have to go ahead and farm quite a bit more in order to get more stone. So I'll be back once I've got the needed materials in order to continue. Alright guys, so we do have our 6 cobblestone here. I did take quite a bit of time there to actually get all that collected up. Now we're going to go ahead and take these 6 cobble and we're going to craft them together into... On a side note, I should probably look up the recipe because I don't remember this one off the top of my head. Slab furnace requires slabs, so that's not bad at all actually. In fact, that really doesn't need a whole lot of cobble at all. There we go, slab furnace. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to fire this down. Where should we put this? You know what? Let's put it down on top, because we always click it from the side, so it's not really a big deal. So now that we've got this, we can actually fire our unfired clay bucket in there. And we're going to grab some of the oak wood, and we're actually going to fire that into sticks just to be a little bit more efficient with our actual smelting. Normally, if you had access to clay or charcoal, obviously this would be a little bit more efficient. And, well, you could do that, and that would be a little bit of a waste of fuel. But just so that we're not wasting too much of our materials here, we're just going to use sticks because it's easy enough to get them. Alright, so we've got ourselves a clay bucket and an unfired crucible. And we also have the ability here to select our next reward, so we'll go with this one. And we're getting awfully close to our next heart as well. Which is fairly exciting. Let's see what we get from our rewards bag. Enderfish, nightfish. Enderfish, nightfish. Interesting, so we're getting a whole... Oh, another fish. So we're getting quite a bit of stuff here, which is fairly intriguing. We're going to have quite a bit of stuff to actually work with. Thank goodness. So now that we've got our crucible, let's go ahead and check the next quest. Dust in the wind. So this wants us to get iron or gravel. 4 broken ores of the same type. So this is very similar to before. Basically, it wants us to do this with gravel. I'm going to run gravel through there, so this will take a little bit of time while we try and collect ourselves some more cobble here. And hopefully, actually, you know what? Rather than doing that, I can't do that yet. That's going to take way too much time. However, based on previous knowledge, if I can find a heat source, I don't think that counts as a heat source, unfortunately. If we had access to a heat source, we could actually... Oh, yes, we do have access to a heat source. We can actually do this. Okay. We are going to make ourselves a torch, which does constitute as a heat source, thank goodness. So, why exactly do we want this? Well, the reason we want ourselves a torch is so that we can actually craft ourselves, or at least get started on making an actual cobble gen. Now, that may not sound very important. Believe me, it is. Actually, I'm going to craft up a whole bunch more, or a few more of those, just so that we can actually get some of this lit up. But for now, we'll just put this out here, I guess. Just trying to figure out where we should actually put it. You know what? Yeah, let's put it there. That's not a bad place for it. Now let's just grab our pick. We're going to keep using our original pick because I don't want to use that other one yet. It's not that big of a deal if I don't, if you ask me anyways. There we go. We'll fill that in, throw that down, throw that on top. And of course now we're going to need ourselves some cobble, I think. No, we can't. Of course. But that's okay. So now that we've got that, we can actually throw cobble in there, I believe it is. And that will actually allow us to create ourselves some lava. And with that, that will give us a place to start. I'm also going to go ahead and wait until it gets night, light this up, and then I'm going to get ready to do some more questing. So I'll be back in a bit, guys. Alright guys, now I just want to show you guys a quick update of what I've been working on here. I'm just expanding to give ourselves a little bit bigger of a tree farm. Nothing fancy right now, just something to grow trees on. I did notice something, however, though. I decided to actually try digging this up just to see if I could find something extra, or rather to move the dirt, and lo and behold, there's dirt in a dirt chest. So, I figured with that, that gives us enough dirt to actually move some of the stuff around. I'll probably expand this a couple more lengths, since I know I have the dirt and it doesn't take doesn't take much more time in order to sort that out. Sorry about my English. I also decided to actually expand our little water area here and give myself a little 3x3 area to actually have, both for water and for fishing. So this will give me a little bit more room to do things. I just want to give you guys a heads up just while I'm working on a few other things, just so you guys know what's going on. Alright guys, I do realize that we are actually coming up on a half an hour here, so I'm going to have to call it quits for now. I'm probably going to do a little bit more off camera, try and prepare for a few of the other different, quests that we have going on, try and get a little bit more food since I have sort of run out. But anyways, I will see you guys next time. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you like, don't like, etc. See you next time. Bye-bye.